Welcome to another day of Christ and Crafting for Christmas. I'm Lisa with Lisa Boone Designs, and here I have my friend Rachel. Rachel, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rachel with Stella Rose Boutique. I am here in East Tennessee in Greeneville.
Yes, I was actually just there last week or this past weekend, and I got to go and meet her in person, and we actually worked on that trunk live on our Facebook page. And we did that because Rachel wanted to learn how to blend the paint better into the decoupage paper. So that was step one. And what she did, she had painted it in Petticoat pink and French millinery, and then you sealed it in polyacrylic. And we determined that it's always best to not seal, but it's not like you can't fix it. Anything is possible with it's just paint and paper, right? That's what we always say.
Yes.
So what I did was I recreated her project, and I already got a good way through. I actually was live on the DIY paint page on Facebook, and I saved a portion for us to get together, and so that she could practice and get to know how to better blend. So she's just gonna follow along, and then I'm making a sign. So let me show you what I've got so far. So I've got all of this, and I have this that we're gonna blend. All right, so I'm gonna put my camera down, and then Rachel's just gonna follow along. And that's probably as down as I can go. Okay, so this is the area we're working on. All right, so Rachel has all of her tools, and what we're going to start with first is we're going to start with Tarnish Pearl. And the reason that we're starting with Tarnish Pearl is because this paper, the background of the paper is an off-white, even has tints of an off, like a creamy color also. But the Tarnish Pearl is an off-white. And whenever I have a paper that's similar in color, I usually will paint my piece in Tarnished Pearl and then decoupage it and then do whatever I want to do. But this is a great project. I'm glad that she invited me to teach her this. The one thing that before I start painting, if you want to, you can go ahead and sand very lightly that top layer of paper, and that actually helps to give you a nice smooth finish. Like I can almost not feel right here. I didn't do it as much here because I started taking some of the paint off. I did a very light coat of paint earlier because I knew I was going to add more paint, and it didn't really matter. So I didn't do that in any of the other edges, but that is a great trick that you can do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start painting, and I'm going to paint right onto my paper. Now I decoupage this using liquid patina, DIY paint liquid patina, and I'm just going to paint into the paper. Like I said, you don't have to sand it, but it does help with the transition if that's what you want. You want a smoother transition. Now, as I paint it, because this is not sealed, my paper is going to get reactivated, and it's going to get wet, and it's going to, here, I'm going to put it on. Let me see if I can put it on so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about. All right, I'm going to zoom in really quick so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. You see how it's wrinkling up and it's reactivating? Now, Tarnished Pearl is a gray, has gray in it. It has undertones of gray. So sometimes it looks like it's not painted all the way, but it actually is. Let it dry. It's a tricky color. All right, let me get Rachel back on there, see what she's doing. All right. So I'm going to leave this down here so you can kind of see as I'm working. So what I want to do is I want to use my fine mist sprayer and reactivate all the paint that's underneath. And I want to paint over the pink, and then we're going to actually add some pink back in. And what we're doing is we're using a different brush for every color. I don't always blend blends like this. This is just a different technique that we're showing so that we can blend the Tarnished Pearl into the Petticoat pink. And what I'm doing is I'm just using light strokes, going back and forth, up and down. And I'm going to have to reactivate this part that I did earlier just because it's easier to do this all in one step. I left this so that we could play with it. And see how I didn't add any other paint, but I'm reactivating what was already there. Now, Rachel, do you decoupage a lot?
I'm starting to more. I had never until you started me. And then I started carrying the Jamie Ray Vintage decoupage paper, and I love it. And then I started carrying some of the recycled paper, and I love it. I love how you can change something with something so simple.
Yeah. And decoupage paper is inexpensive.
Yes. And it's an inexpensive way to change an old tired piece of furniture. This was a one of those cheap melamine toy boxes. That cheap white slippery wood.
Yeah.
That we painted.
I'm glad you said
and the
that.
DIY, the DIY paint adheres to that when nothing else would stick to that. And this was my daughter's, who's now 24, and we're painting it for her daughter, my granddaughter. So it's had its fair share of abuse over the years, and painting it, a little bit of paint and decoupage paper, and it looks totally different, and it'll last through another kid.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
would much rather
about painting.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a
dry
brush.
Pardon?
I'm taking a dry brush now, and because I just had such a little spot, and Rachel's got a whole trunk to do, but I'm just blending all of this together. And just with this dry brush, and then I use my lint-free rag to wipe off the excess paint. That is a great way that you can blend your paper and your paint together. And so I'm going to go ahead. Sometimes you have to dry it before you can really see what it's doing. So I'm going to hit the heat gun on this and watch it dry. And you'll see that my wrinkles will iron out as it dries. And if something happens that it doesn't, you could always take a fine sanding sponge and sand it. Sand off those wrinkles. See, I don't know if you can see. There's a whole bunch of wrinkles here. Okay. So now I pretty much have replicated Rachel's project using Petticoat pink, and on the bottom there's French Millinery, and I'm going to turn it a little bit so that you can see. This is a large board for this little live here. So I'm going to face it towards me now, and I've got, let me go ahead and put this up just a little bit. Okay. All right. So right here, it's not necessarily a smooth transition, and that's because I did it in layers. But what you can do is you can take, I do this on furniture. So what we're doing here obviously can be done on furniture. Keep doing it. I'm going to go ahead and use my sanding sponge, and you can knock some of it off, and that will also burnish your paint, and it'll give your paint highs and lows. So you can take that or one of these if you don't have a sanding sponge, and just make sure you get that dust off. Or another way that you can do it is you can take a baby wipe. I'll do this a lot when I'm doing furniture, and something didn't blend right, and it's just one little piece, and instead of painting the whole thing all over again, wasting paint and time, I'll just take my wet wipe and I'll just wipe it back and blend it. Not too hard, but not distressing it. We're just creating a better blend. And then I painted over my paper, and I did that intentionally. And what I will do is I will use a light touch, and I will bring back some of that paper, and that's a great way to blend your paper into your piece. And so you just do it very light. And see, I love the way that this came out down here. Let's see if I can get it. And how it made it into one. And the flowers are distressed anyway. So it's kind of cool to have a little bit of the paint over it. Especially when it's Tarnish Pearl. See that one? How on the top, I did the same thing. And it looks really cool. It makes it look more vintage and old. And I like that. So at this point, you can go ahead and you can add more texture. I was telling Rachel, a lot of times what I like to do when I have paper and paint is create texture by using some stamps or using some stencils. This is a Jamie Ray vintage stencil that I picked up from Rachel at Stella Rose Boutique, and all of the links will be down below, so you'll be able to purchase these if you want. She's a Jamie Ray vintage retailer, so you'll want to pick these up. See, this is a great way to add interest and just dimension, and this would be really pretty in maybe the golden rule. But I think what I want to do is wait a minute before I do that. And I don't know, maybe I don't. Maybe I want to do it. Do I want to do it? Yeah, I think I want to do it. So I've got these new to me. I got these from Rachel. She hooked me up. These Jamie Ray vintage stencil brushes. So I'm trying to use all of her stuff. This is another thing that I picked up at her store. And this is the Playful background stencil. You actually get 2 in 1. And this is like a honeycomb. And then this is a distress. It's really similar to the stamp that IOD just came out with on vintage textures. And I'm going to use some of those at the end. But I think I want to add a little bit of gold. So I've got golden roll right there. And have you used this, Rachel, on any stencils yet?
No, I have not. I have it right here.
Okay.
I have it right here, but yeah. I've not used it on anything yet.
All right. Well, I'm about to. I don't know if I want to use this brush or not. I probably should have got a different brush. All right, I'm going to do it on this one.
The first piece.
All right. So maybe I should wait. I'm going to wait. I think I should do my stencil first. Because I don't want since this is wax, it's going to take a little bit longer to cure. And I could actually mess it up if I do this first. But I think I want to do that and add some gold along there. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off the gold. All right, so you can start painting so that I can watch you, because I don't know that Rachel.
Yeah, I wanted to get some of the.
Yeah.
I needed to get my sides sanded, and then I wanted to sand this so it looked old and worn.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm almost done with the edges, the last piece.
Okay. I created 3 stencils with using my Cricut, and it says, "You are my portion. I have said that." Wait, I said that would keep the word. Did I miss one up? You are my portion. I have said that would keep your words. I think I missed a word. I think I can add. I can add the I, another I, and then this says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path." And it's one of my favorite scriptures, and I always say you are my portion, so I wanted to include that, but it's all under Psalm 119, 57, and 105. So I'm going to put that down here, and then I'm going to have this bigger. Your word is a lamp to my feet. It's one of those scriptures that I always go to, and so I love the message. And so what we're doing with Christ and Crafting is, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas decor item, but it could be something that you make to give to someone for Christmas. I think this would be a great gift. So I'm going to peel this back and see how it goes. Now, normally, I don't like to use Oracle 631. It's a repositionable or reusable, or you can put it on the wall, kind of, not reusable, but just, it has a low tack. You can actually put this on your walls. A permanent vinyl would be 651, and a lot of people use 631 as a stencil. I actually use 651, even though it's permanent. As long as I work quickly and I take it off when I'm done stenciling, it works very well. And the reason I like to use it is that usually you don't get any bleed through with it. But since I have this paper, I didn't want to have any trouble. I tried it one time and the paper ripped up a little bit in certain sections. So that's why I made my stencil in 631. And I used, this is my little trick, and Magic Cover by Dollar Tree. All right, I'm just taking my vinyl off of the backer. And I do that carefully so that I don't rip my vinyl. I actually have a couple of tutorials where I have done this in more depth if you're interested. And I probably will do a few more here during this marathon. So I realized I left this period on here, so I'm just going to take it off. So it gives you the wiggle room if you need it. All right, you're going to start painting now? You getting ready?
Yeah, I'm putting some of the Tarnish Pearl.
Okay.
In,
awesome.
Now my brush was already wet. I just dampened that off, so I'm not going to spray it again.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you always want to start with a wet brush, especially with DIY paint. And even those Klingon brushes, they're great, but they definitely want to be wet.
Yeah.
You've just recently started carrying the Klingon brushes. How do you love them?
I love them. I will never purchase another brush if I can help it. Unless, I mean, if Klingon doesn't make it, then I'll have to. But they are amazing furniture brushes. You know, amazing. And they carry a wall brush, too.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just making sure that my vinyl is sticking. I couldn't find my Cricut tool, so I'm just using the IOD.
Okay.
Burnishing stick. You just use what you got, right? You make it work.
Yep.
The only thing with using the Magic Cover is because it is all rolled up and then the Cricut's all rolled up, like it skips on you. And so you want to make sure that when it comes on here, the vinyl gets all crooked sometimes. and I can put that and I can reuse that. So what you want to do is make sure all of your letters are crisp. The outside doesn't matter. It matters where your letters are. I can't wait to use the Jamie Ray Vintage stencil brushes. I've heard that they're so awesome.
Yes, these are great.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that all my letters are down.
She did a fantastic job with these brushes.
Yeah. Yeah, you can pick those up on Rachel's store if you're interested in them. I think it matters the stencil and it matters the brushes for sure. I mean, you can make your own stencils too using the Cricut, but you have to have good adhesion, and then you have to have a good brush.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm just going to, and sometimes I'll even go back and forth. I'll go ahead and I'll move this way so that you could see it a little bit better. Let me see, towards me. And then I can actually see it better too. So what I decided to do is my favorite black. No, I didn't. I changed my mind. I decided to do weathered wood because of the tones on here. I've never used weathered wood for stenciling, so we shall see what happens.
I like weathered wood.
I do too. So I'm just going to dip it in here. Oops. And I'm going to offload on my thing right here I have on the side. And so what I always do is I like the swirling technique. And I just make sure.
I haven't mastered that.
You haven't mastered it?
No, not
you
the
like
swirling.
I
always end up with bleed through. Yeah, I pounce.
You can pounce.
I am a pouncer.
Sometimes that hurts my hands a little bit, and sometimes swirling. So sometimes I use both techniques, but I found that as long as you don't have a lot of paint, I've even taken a straight acrylic brush, especially when I'm using Oracle 651, and I've just painted it on because I don't have to worry about bleed through. I mean, my brush is probably more wet than what it needs to be. I love how smooth this is. Like, this is amazing. I love this brush. I'm using the half. Now,
the short one?
This one, the half.
Brush wise? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Half inch. Oh, the sense. I hadn't looked up. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
They come in 4 sizes.
Okay.
I know there's a half. I think it's like a 3/8, a half, a 1 inch, and then a 1 1/4.
Okay. Well, this is amazing. Like, I love this.
Yeah, they are amazing brushes.
And here's the thing. Like, if you're stenciling, we tell you everything is fixable. Like, everything is fixable. If it does bleed, you can take your bottom color and you can paint over it. Now, if you're doing something like this, like a blend, I just recommend sanding it. You can sand it and distress it. I've noticed too that when I go to Hobby Lobby, I look at their signs, I take pictures of them, and I look at them to get ideas. But I've noticed that they make them look handmade. And they're not necessarily always that crisp. So I think, we're always worried about being perfect, but I always say only God is perfect, so there's no point in me trying to be perfect or try to make something look perfect. It's not going to happen. And see, you use very little paint when you stencil.
Yes. It's just a teeny tiny amount.
Yeah. How's that going? So you're doing your white, your Tarnish Pearl?
Yes, I put some of the Tarnish Pearl around it, and I'm going to blend some of the pink into that, and then some of the French Millinery down at the bottom. And then I'm going to work on I've got one of the stencils It is one of the Jamie Ray vintage stencils that was designed by Mara at Vintage Retail Therapy by Mara. I can't recall the name of the stencil, and that's gonna bug me. It is it's like a toile. It's a beautiful toile pattern.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I know which one you're
uh,
talking about. I
yeah,
didn't get that one, but I do have some of her stencils, and then I picked up some from you that I needed. Needed.
yeah.
All right, so I'm just lifting this up, and see how the 631 doesn't pull up my paper, and it's easy to come up. Oh, I'm so glad I did weathered wood because I never use weathered wood for stenciling. Wait, I don't know if you can see. It looks super cool. And I really like script fonts, so I like this font that I used too.
That's pretty.
If you're interested in this, I can do you just email me on my website and I can send you a PNG image of it. And I don't use the Cricut picking tool. I use this. It's called, I think it's called a picking tool. But this is the one that I use, and it has a long retractable stick. And it's just easier. It works better for me. And so then I just take out the insides of my letters. And just make sure you get all of them. Now on my other stencil, I did forget the word I. I think. I don't think I missed it. So I'll have to like just cut an I and put it in there. And then I can finish that. All right, so you're going to want to paint on the outside, but I would do one section at a time, and then I would start blending in your pink, and then on the bottom your French millinery, and then use your clean brush. And you want to go, when you're blending, every which way to get a smooth transition, if that's what you're after.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's dry, you'll really be able to tell, is it what you want, and do you need to fix it? But I like to do a little bit of paint, not a lot, and then this way you get it exactly how you want it. This almost, and with DIY paint, it changes when you seal it, but this literally blends so great with the text of this paper. Now, if someone wanted the actual vinyl, let me know, and I can actually cut the vinyl for you and send it to you. Whenever you do the letters, you want to go at an angle to pick it. You don't want to stab it, because then you'll create a hole in your paint. Oh my gosh, I love this. I love this. This is so cool. So I was trying to match my design to Rachel's, and I didn't have that paper that she used here at the house. So I used this paper. I talked about it on the live on DIY Paint. She actually gave me 2 sheets of this, and I still have a huge scrap, and I have the other paper to do something else with, and so it really came in handy because I was trying to match her so that she could see, because I felt bad we couldn't do it while I was there, and I told her we would do it on the live so that this way she would feel comfortable. But we decided to do it as part of the dual Price with crafting so that she could participate. So she's got a YouTube channel, and she's gonna start making videos. She has one on there. It's Stella Rosie Boutique, and that link will be in the comments below in the description. So please be sure to subscribe to her channel and follow her on Facebook. And again, all the links are going to be down below. Okay. Okay, I have the eye there. I just didn't pick it out. I thought I was going to have to cut something else. So it just couldn't see it. I was rushing because I knew that we were going to come on here and I didn't see it. You have to, these small fonts like this, you have to look at it at an angle. Sometimes they will hide on you. That makes me feel better. There we go. Oh, I missed a whole word here too. I can see it. All right, let me see if I can get it. I might need my glasses. Sometimes it's easier. This is called reverse reading. When you have really, really small letters, sometimes you have to do this. Okay. I'm an L. Is it blending for you? Did you start blending?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
It's like, from where I sanded it, it's like the decoupage stuff is like goopy underneath the paint.
Yeah. It will be because probably because of the polyacrylic, but I think it'll all come together. I think it'll be fine once you're said and done. I had to put my center of my letter there. I'm missing one. I had it. No, that's too big. I'm gonna see if I can reuse this. I'm gonna try to reuse that one because that came off. We'll see how that works. So this is going to be framed. So I'm trying to see how, if you position this on top lightly, it won't stick and you have some wiggle room. I can't tell if it's straight or not because I'm upside down. Okay. I kind of wanted this. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply this down. And then we just see what happens. All right, let me know if you have any questions, Rachel. All right. I'm going to try to burnish this down, especially because these are so little. And it's always helpful to do this at a 45-degree angle. Now, you said your daughter has a Cricut, but you guys haven't figured it out.
Yeah, I'm not good at that stuff. She's good at it. I'm not.
It's so helpful to have a Cricut. I mean, the stamps are great, the text stamps, but sometimes you just want something smaller or bigger or a different font. And it's great for personalizing signs or whatever, or even just vinyl decals.
Yeah, that's what I want it for. You know, just like this, just what you're doing. But I haven't figured it out yet, and
Okay.
she knows how to do it. But
I'm not sure where that went, so I'm just going to make this work. I think this is all good, so I'm just going to make sure that everything is nice and down. Like I said, if it's not perfect, that's totally okay with me. It's amazing. I mean, I know that brushes make a difference, you know, because when I first started, I would watch everybody and they would talk about their, you know, the brushes that they use, and I'm like, wow, they're so expensive. But I decided to try it, and I would get, you know, the good brushes, and it makes a difference. It really does. And if you're going to be doing it, it's better to get a good brush and invest in it. It makes all the difference. Sometimes if I'm doing a lot of signs, I'll just put the paint right here and I'll just actually offload right on my vinyl. And see, I feel like if I dabbed this, it takes so much longer for me. Like I said, sometimes I have to. Sometimes I have to do it that way because my wrist will hurt. But I really prefer the swirling. And some of them are lighter than others, and I like that because then it gives it that vintage age look. And then I like to peel mine off right away. I don't like to wait for it to dry. I like to peel it off, even if I'm using tape. Do you do that when you do stripes? Do you do it right
I
away,
have
or?
the J. Ray vintage grain sack stencil.
Uh-huh.
I don't do stripes.
Okay.
I use the grain sack stencil for those.
Oh, la-di-da.
It makes it easy.
Yeah.
Even if you're not using, like, even if you're not making a grain sack, you can use it for anything else. And yeah. And that's what's nice about these stencils is, you know, they are reusable. They're 15 mil. They're nice, and you can use them for so many different things.
That's true. That's what I like about the stamps too, and I try to teach people, like, you know, the harvest stamp, for example. I did, and I have a video on my channel where I took the pumpkin and I used it, you know, with florals to make it into a really pretty, like a floral container. And like, you don't have to use it as what it's intended. You know, you can make it your own.
And you piece together the stencils for, you know, sections of. I use the wheel well circle for, you know, a circle pattern on my pumpkins that I was doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
The ones you cut out?
Yeah, the wooden ones that I cut out, those chunky pumpkins.
Now you have those on your website, right? That people can purchase?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Well, I'll show a picture right here, and you can purchase those, and she can ship them anywhere in the continental USA.
Yes, and I also have blanks too. Like if you can purchase them painted or you can purchase them blank, so you can make yourself a DIY project.
Yeah. Especially that's a great gift, you know, for to give to someone that is a
Yep.
crafter. It's to get a little kit together or just a blank. What crafter
Mhm.
would not like that as a Christmas gift?
Yep. And we've got sets too where you can purchase a stencil brush and small amounts of paint in a set and paint it yourself.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah,
buy the
and DIY
whole,
paint goes a long way because all
Yep.
you can add water and you can make that go. It's so
Oh
highly
yeah.
pigmented.
Oh yes.
Uh, no, I did stab that one, but that's okay. I think my pick is getting a little dull. Oh my goodness. This is coming out so cool. I never would have put this together if it weren't for Rachel. That's for sure. I like French millinery. I used it in a chest that I made for myself, and I put the IOD lavender and some of the roses on it, and it was mostly tarnished pearl. And I did do some stripes that I use with tape, and and I love the way that it turned out. It's in my bedroom, and I just dry brushed, or not dry brushed, but I faintly put in some of the purple because actually purple is my favorite color, and you
Too.
almost can't even see it. It's mixed in with the vintage linen and a little bit of tarnished pearl, and it looks so cool. But I love this, even though the paper doesn't have this shade of purple. It just looks so great. Yeah, I never would have done it. I'm glad. And that's what's good about watching other people is you get different ideas. And this was a great idea. What's the name of this paper? Do you remember that you gave me?
No, I will look it up for you so we can put it in the links below.
Okay,
I really
perfect.
don't remember.
Someone on the DIY paint page mentioned it and they were like, I love that paper. I was like, okay. So I'm just gonna measure, like girl measure, as Jane from Funkager says. And I'm gonna put this like in the center. Let me see. Yeah, in the center right here. There we go. I was off too much. It feels weird. Okay, let me see. Hopefully that's straight, but if it's not, it's okay too. This is why I knew that this was going to go into here, and this is why I didn't do my stencil. I probably should have done it first to layer it, but I want to do the gold. And I don't want to mess up the gold because that wax, I used it as in a stencil on a desk that I did, and it took a long time to dry. I actually thought I had ruined the piece, and I thought, oh no, what did I do? Because
Oh wow.
it looked like it had bled underneath and it spread, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that looks terrible. But then when it dried, it was fine, and so that's
Okay.
why I wanted to wait. So I kind of I wanted to do this in gold. I think I want to do this in gold. We'll see. See how that goes. So I'm just going to use the top. And this just says Psalm 119. I love Psalm 119. It's broken down. I don't know if you know this, Rachel, but it's right smack in the middle of the Bible. And it is broken down into 22 sections. And within those 22 sections, there are 8 verses. So every section is 8 verses. And it's broken down by the letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And so every section starts with, like, let's say A, B, like everything's, coordinated with the letter of the alphabet. And my husband and I were college and career pastors in a church that we used to go to. And I would write this out and send it out to all the college students and ask them to just take 8 verses every day for 22 days as we would prepare, like, for Easter or something like that. And it's just a lot of the scriptures that I quote, like you are a light unto my path and a lamp unto my feet, that's actually in Psalm 119. And there's a whole bunch of them. And like, you are my portion, I say that a lot. And it's all found in Psalm 119. I just love it. It just is to help to hide his word in our hearts and to prepare us and to give us understanding. There's so much to it. So I encourage you guys to read Psalm 119 and see all the goodness that's in it. All right. I'm going to show you what I mean. It looks like it bled and it looks splotchy. We'll see. We'll see what it did. But see, I don't know if you can see it. Let me turn this around. But when it dries, see that?
Yeah.
So, but that's how my stencil looked on my desk. But then when it dried, it evened out. So
Cool.
If it doesn't, then I will just create another stencil over it in another color. But I think it will. I think it'll be fine. So
I think it will be too.
Yeah. It's weird how the wax does that on the stencil. And when you clean your brush, you're going to want to make sure you get all that wax off. You're going to use it for regular paint. You're going to want to clean that off. How are you doing? How are you coming along? Is it blending for you?
Yeah. It's still, I think it has some type of reaction with that,
Polyacrylic?
the polyacrylic. I won't ever, we weren't sure what I was going to do with this, so, that's why it got sealed. Otherwise, I would have never sealed it. Now, I definitely will make sure everybody knows, never seal it beforehand.
Yeah. That's okay. That's how we learn, right?
Yep.
I think I'm going to add some gold here. So I think, I'll do it this way. I think it's good that you went through that, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
No, I'm going to go this way. All right. I think I'm going to put a little bit of gold right here going across this part of the paper and see what happens. So I'm just going to load it on here. And you're right, these stencils are super thick. This is the stencil that I use for the desk. It was one of Mara LaFay's stencils, and I forget, it's the one Infinity.
Yes.
I use that, and what was great, like we were talking about how you can use parts. I used it's kind of like a fleur-de-lis kind of shape, the big, whatever that big thing is, the flourish. I use that on the side as a raised stencil. Then I use the top portion on the narrow sides, and then on top of the desk, I went ahead and I used it in its entirety. And then I used like a little section on the bottom. So I was able to do like different parts of it all throughout, and then I made it all work together. Super, super cool stencil.
That's the one I used for the bench for the YouTube video I have up.
Okay, yeah.
And I put the back that looks like that fleur-de-lis as the back part of the bench, but I just used that one section and that was it.
Wow. Okay.
On the back. The rest of it I used in the stencil in front. So I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you can just tape stencils off, use a certain section. And that had a lot of goodness in it. All right, now I got to see because I don't want to go over. So I'm not going to use this part of the swirl because it's going into my text. I'm just going to go around it, kind of fade it in. And I'm just making sure that I hold it down so I don't shift. You could tape it. I recommend painter's tape, the blue. But these stencils are so thick, like you said, that when I just use straight paint, it actually was almost like a raised stencil because of the clay and DIY paint. So that was kind of cool.